Hello and welcome to the screencast. This time I show you an editor for business process models, and the nice thing about this editor is that it provides a lot of user assistance. Before I show you the assistance, I'll show you how you can draw a normal business process model too. So it consists of a start event, an activity, an immediate event, and an end event that have to be connected by a sequence flow, and then there has to be a pool as a container for these node components. Let's add another pool to get a more complex example. Here, let's say we have a branching control for branches. This can be realized by using these gateway components. And we have to connect all these components by sequence flow. This is quite tedious. I will later show you how we can do this. How we can assist the user in doing so. We can also introduce messages here. For instance, let's say we want to have a message between this activity and this start event, and if we say this is a customer, then he might want to order a product from a company. This is very simple, typical sales process. And you see we can draw all this stuff. Next I will show you how we can assist the user in drawing these models. So imagine for a moment you are new to business process modeling and you do not know how a correct business process model looks like. Then what you would be interested in is an example. So in order to see examples, you can click this button and let the editor generate examples for you. Therefore you can set up here the size of the examples you are interested in, but you see with size 0 and 1 there are no business process models available. It starts with size 4. This is the smallest possible business process model, and we do not count the arrow components. Okay, so this 4 is 3 node components here and the pool. So this is the smallest possible business process model. We can further increase the size. Here we have 2 activities, or with 7 components we can already introduce some gateways here, and with 8 we even have a solution with several pools, or just a more complex diagram. So you see, we can browse all these examples, and it also works for larger examples, but at some point in time you will get a heap space error if there are just too many solutions. Here we have already 26 solutions, so the number of examples gets quite large, but it's still useful to have a look at these examples. Okay, even better, you can commit here and use an example as a starting point for your own editing work. Okay, so now you have this example and can continue editing. The next thing I will show you is autocompletion. So if you are a beginner user, then you might have drawn this diagram and you see that it is not blue, so you know it's not correct, but you might wonder what's wrong here. Then you can also use the question mark, and you can have a look at what's possible by introducing additional components. For instance, we can introduce a gateway here. This is suggested, and that way we can correct this diagram. Okay, this is autocompletion. We can also, let's say, remove this activity here. This can also be done that way. Then here in this time we have even a solution of size 0. This is just putting an arrow in between, or of course we can also insert an activity in between to correct this business process model. This feature is called autocompletion. And the next feature I will show you is the generation of correctness preserving editing operations. So we support different kind of operations. For instance, I first show you the replace operation. This is invoked by a shortcut, and we can replace a sequence flow, for instance, by an activity. Or we can increase the number of components and introduce 2 activities. or if we want to introduce a gateway here, of course this is also possible. Just set this up to 4 components and we have a more complex subprocess here introduced. Let's commit and apply this operation. Okay. Another kind of operation is that you just select such a component, such an activity, then you can press a question mark here, and you can introduce other components in the area of the selected component. For instance, an activity afterwards or an activity before this one. What takes so long here is a layout that is based on geometric constraints, and this is not a very efficient implementation here, but this can for sure be improved. Okay. What we can also do, or what we have also realized, is an intelligent remove function. For instance, say we do not need the branching here and want to remove the upper part, so just select this and click on intelligent remove, and this part is deleted immediately, and the remaining diagram is properly connected. You can also remove such an activity here, then the remaining diagram again is properly connected. What is also a very useful function, therefore I have to introduce an activity here to show you this. What is very useful in business process modeling is an operation that introduces a synchronization point. For instance, here we want to select this sequence flow and this sequence flow, and we want to introduce a synchronization point here, and this is of course possible by invoking replace, and then we have to introduce 2 gateways. If we can of course also do this, but this is not what the solution we have been interested in. Rather, we have been interested in the synchronization point and the 2 gateways. So let's apply this one. So you see that with these operations, a lot of editing tasks are greatly simplified. Okay. Let's conclude with autolink functionality. This has been suggested by Jana Köhler and others, and also realized in the IBM WebSphere business modeling tool. But we have also realized this autolink functionality using a formal approach, least cost parsing. Let's see how this works. We can just introduce the components here, invoke. Oops. This does not work. Oops. Oh, okay. Sorry, I've added another start event. Okay, this can't work. I have to add an end event here, of course. Sorry. Now I can invoke autolink, and voila. We have the editor adds the missing arrows automatically. Let's try something more complicated. This is too simple, maybe. Let's add something more complicated. Let's try this one. And you see the editor deduces all the missing arrows. You can also autolink only partial diagrams. For instance, let's say you have this diagram, then of course you can also introduce the missing arrows. This is the so-called autolink function. So let's conclude the screencast. I've shown you several useful user assistance functions for business process model editor. For instance, the example diagram generation, the auto-completion, the generation of correctness preserving editing operations, including intelligent component removal and autolink. This all has been realized in a generic way, so that the editor can very easily be adapted and extended. We also support other languages, but so you can have a look at previous screencasts. And I think this is business process models are practically relevant language, so we have shown that the approach to user assistance we have developed can be applied to practical languages. Bye bye.